Welcome back to Live Studio 69 featuring your boy, the legendary Robert Wyndon. And I'm back with the legendary mailbag question of the night. And I'm going to set the table for you. I'm going to give you what the topic is. The topic is he gay? Is he indifferent? Does he like men? That's the topic. And this is the question. So my homegirl called me the other day, and me and her was having a conversation, and she said, "Rob, what's wrong with these men nowadays?" And I'm like, "What you talking about? Ain't nothing wrong with us. What's wrong with you?" So I got all defensive because I'm a man. What's wrong with you? So she was like, "This man was in my inbox, and he started off all right, just asking all the basic questions. Then he just went left, and then he asked me, 'Am I kinky?' So I looked, and I'm like, 'No.' And then he asked me, this is fucking. Then he asked me, 'How freaky am I?' And I said, 'Not at all.' And then the man asked me, 'Am I into pegging?' So when she said, 'Are you into pegging?' I had to look, and I looked at her, but I ain't say nothing. I'm like, now, what'd he say? She repeated herself. He asked me, do I peg? And I'm like, and she had this confused look on her face, like this huge question mark. I'm like, so did he ask you, do you peg or do you like being pegged? Or no, Rob, stay focused. He asked me, do I peg? What is that? So I broke it down to it. And for y'all that don't know, pegging is when a man wants you to strap up. You heard me. Strap up. My man Izzy Dre said keep the book bags at home. Well, they brought the book bag and they want you to strap up and they want you to hit it from the back, from the side. So they want to play the female and they want you to play the male. I don't know how that works for men. And she asked me flat out when I told her, she said, ugh, he gay. I said, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. He may not be gay. What do you mean? If he want me to do that, I said, you gotta understand that the male G spot just so happens to be, it's a weird place to be. It just so happens to be up a man's butt. It just so happens to be in a little spot up a man's butt. And they say if you hit that G spot, that man gonna come harder than he ever came in his life. So there's a lot of men who like, number one, who like their butt ate. And there's a lot of men out there who like to be pegged, but they say that they're not homosexual or they're not gay. They just like that because that's where the G spot is. So they want to feel that extreme, I don't even know what it's called, that extreme exuberant feeling. So she turned around and asked me, well, Rob, have you ever got pegged? Number one, hell no. No. Uh, no. You're not gonna be having me bent over clapping these. Is you crazy? That's number one. Then she was like, well, what about you ever had your salad talk, blah, 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 blah. I said, this is not that type of question. You said peg and you gotta stay focused on what you're supposed to be asking me. So let me get into this. So is this man number one? I don't know. I hope that he was just throwing that question out there to see how freaky that she was gonna be. But I think because of the way that he asked her and why he asked her, I just think that he wants to experience that G spot moment. This is not the first time that he's asked this question, and this is probably, if she would have agreed to do it, this is not the first time that this man has had this done. This man has had somebody put his finger, put her finger, that was a Freudian slip, in his butt, and he got off that way. And like I said, there's a lot of men out there. That's like a new thing now. That's a new thing right now. And men are experiencing having a butt ate. Some of them love it. Some of them like being fingered. And I think it's now just, for me being an old school gentleman, it may seem weird. It may seem a little indifferent, but for now these new cats and some of these older cats who experienced it, It's not weird to them. It's actually all part of the sexual intercourse that you have with a female. Now and that's okay. Here's where I think that it can get borderline weird. It can get borderline weird if that's what he continues to ask you for. If that man continues to ask for you to peg him, then definitely that's a red flag. That raises red flags. If that man continues to ask you to peg him, if that man continues to ask you to lick his butt, if that man continues to ask you to stick your finger in his butt and bowl it down the aisle like a bowling ball, he is, yeah, yeah. That should be a red flag. That should be a question mark. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. I love the community, but brother, if you out there and you continue to ask your woman for that, you really need to maybe check yourself. You see them check marks? Check yourself and see if you just dabbling in women, but you really want to be somewhere else. Because then that wouldn't be fair to her if you really like men and you just trying to substitute it with her doing that so you can still feel like a man. You could be a man whether you like men or not. I've seen a lot of masculine homosexual men. Don't bother me at all. And it shouldn't bother you if that's what you went to. But to answer the initial question, is that man gay? Maybe. I'm gonna say no because I think a lot of men are into that and they think it's just become with so much things changing, it's just part of the sexual activity that they're part of. And there's a lot of women who love that, who love to toss a man salad, it gives them a sense of control. There's a lot of women who done pegged their man before. And I told her, I said, listen, if you decide to do this, make sure that you keep your socks and your shoes on and go to work. Go to work. Bust that thing open. You feel what I'm saying? If that's what you want, but you keep your boots on, your socks on, and go to work. If you wearing some Uggs, ma'am, keep your Uggs on. But I'd rather you going out there and get you some Timberlands. Put them Timberlands on, put it right on his head. And break his back, because that's what he wants you to do in the first set. And make sure the number one thing is that you got that Diddy baby oil. You gotta have the oil to get right. You feel me? Live from studios, the legendary Robert Winding. Come on back.